Hello, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharp. I am here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions, also to give you important updates. Today, I have a very important update regarding citizenship. So, this is basically the end of the immigration journey, right? When you are applying for citizenship, after U.S. citizenship, you have to pursue anything else in regards to citizenship. Well, there are some major changes that you have to keep in mind now because what's happening is that there's going to be a little more, maybe even a lot more involved in the citizenship process. Now, with the citizen, they just announced these changes on Friday, and I do have the memo here that's detailing those specific changes. And one way that I can summarize this is to say that previously, what they would do is it's saying no sound. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so if you can, somebody confirm whether you can hear me. I'm seeing some people saying no sound. That may be okay. So I'm seeing no sound. All right, let me know if you can hear me. I'll just confirm with it. Okay, good. So it must be you. All right. Okay, good, good, good. I'm glad you can hear me. All right. So in the policy manual or the policy memo that they issued on Friday, one very simple way that I can explain this is to say previously with applications, they would look at, did you ever commit any offenses? If the answer is no, no offenses that's going to stop them from getting citizenship, then you meet all the other requirements like continuous presence in the United States, physical presence in the United States. You would generally meet the good moral character requirement because this change is regarding good moral character and citizenship, right? So no crime, right? No crime, no offense, or minor offenses. For the most part, you're gonna pass that good moral character test. Well, in this case, they have done the reverse. They're saying that they now are going to look at what good have you done? What is it good that you have done? How have you been constructive in the community? You know, and they're going to basically use that to determine whether you're deserving of US citizenship. So what they're going to be, so each officer evaluating the case has to also evaluate these factors, which they didn't have to do before. Now they have to, and that's they have to look at sustained community involvement and contributions to the United States. So, for example, volunteer work, your commitment to different organizations or membership in certain organizations like your church, family, caregiving. So, what's your family structure? What part have you played in maintaining your family, taking care of your family? They're looking at your ties in the United States. So not they're also going to look at who are you tied to, who are your relatives, who here is related to you. That creates a tie to the United States apart from you living in the United States. Your education, so they're going to take that into consideration. Stable and lawful employment history. So they're going to look at your employment history. How long have you been working? Have you been able to maintain continuous employment, your achievements in your employment? They're going to look at the length of lawful residence in the United States. So at minimum, usually you have to do 5 years. You have to have your residence for 5 years. or longer. In some cases, 3 years, and if you're in the military, even less, so 1 year, and 6 months if we're in wartime. And compliance with tax obligations, that has always been the case. And hear this, this one is alarming. Financial responsibility in the United States. So they're going to look at compliance with tax obligations and compliance with financial responsibility in the United States. So this is what they're going to jump to first as part of analyzing whether you qualify for citizenship. So if you have your green card, you're looking to apply for citizenship, you need to keep this in mind because this can give you a head start on what to prepare for your application and what to expect. Now, why that's alarming about the compliance with financial responsibility is because it's saying that, for example, do you owe any debts in the United States? For example, do you owe any debts or are you delinquent in any debts? Financial responsibility applies to debts, which usually is not considered in the citizenship process unless you are convicted of a crime. So the the other thing is they did look at disqualifying, they did talk about disqualifying behavior, and we do know those already. So there's permanent bars to proving good moral character. Those are going to include murder, aggravated felonies, crimes of violence, persecution, genocide, torture, severe violations of religious freedom. We always knew that one. Other conditional bars to GMC, that includes controlled substance violations. So conditional means that within the time, so they usually look 5 years backwards, within that time, if you have any of these issues within the last 5 years, then you will likely be denied, but you may be able to apply in the future. So these would be controlled substance violations, two or more convictions for driving under DUI, unlawful voter registration, or unlawful voting. Now, any other acts that are contrary, here's where it's going to get a little complicated. And this is any other acts that are contrary to the average behavior of citizens in the jurisdiction where aliens reside. I'm going to break that down for you. And this one is also very alarming. And that's because even if you've never been arrested, even if you've never been convicted for an offense, it means though if whatever acts were committed or whatever information is in your background is different than what an average citizen in your community in which you live will do, they will disqualify you. They can disqualify you. They gave examples. So this could be actions that, while technically lawful, may be inconsistent with civic responsibility within the community, such as reckless or habitual traffic infractions. Basically, traffic tickets, guys, speeding tickets can go against you. For example, if you tend to drive fast and you got 2 or 3 tickets, that means, and say in your community, the average person gets 1 ticket. That means that those 2 tickets could go against your good moral character because usually other people just get one, but you're getting more than the average person in your community, citizen would get in your community. So that means that they could hold it against you to get citizenship based on you lacking good moral character. And other things like harassment or aggressive solicitation. So what comes to mind is restraining orders, right? Sometimes if you have a restraining order, technically you weren't arrested. There's just something that says you need to stay away from someone. That could also result in failure to meet good moral character. So very important that you, one, you have to submit a more detailed citizenship application that paints the picture of who you are as an individual, keeping in mind that they're going to be taking into consideration community involvement, family ties and caregiving responsibility, your education, stable lawful employment history, length of lawful residence in the US, and compliance with tax obligations and financial responsibilities. Now, keep in mind that does not mean you have to meet all of these, but they're going to look at the totality of the circumstances to determine whether you qualify for citizenship. So, for example, you may be an individual who maybe you did not focus on getting an education beyond elementary school. But you have other positive attributes, like you have, volunteered at your church. You have strong ties to the United States. Maybe you have a spouse. Maybe you have children who are U.S. citizens. You've been here for the last 10 years. And you have complied with all your tax obligations, then they're not necessarily going to hold you not having an advanced education against you, right? And education may not play a factor at all in this, but I just want you to know that you don't have to have all of them, but they are going to take these things into consideration. Now, here's the deal. If you have any of these issues in your background, you have to get to work to show that even though you may have, 4 traffic tickets in the past 5 years, that you are still a person of good moral character. And you're going to have to do that by presenting additional evidence to counter that, right? So, for example, you're going to show how you've rectified the situation, that you've complied with maybe court orders regarding or traffic school regarding the traffic tickets. Maybe it's been a year since you've had any more traffic tickets, and maybe you've paid up all the traffic tickets. In addition to that, you can show that your good moral character is still present by showing other positive attributes. So basically, it's going to be a lot more involved um, in showing your good moral character, especially when you have negative factors involved. So here are some things that they talk about when they're considering the positives and the negatives. They will if you have negatives that somehow impact your good moral character, it's time to get to work to show that you have been rehabilitated or reformed. And the ways that you can show that is, for example, if your issue is child support, right? You can rectify it by showing that you've paid up overdue child support payments or other family obligations. You've complied with probation or other conditional conditions imposed by the court. Community. So if affidavits from people in your community attesting to your moral character or your reformation or rehabilitation. You yourself are now mentoring other people who have been in your situation so to help them get back on track. Full repayment. So this is just an example, but if you had, say, tax violations or delinquent taxes, or you were notified that you owed, you received an overpayment in Social Security payments, then you can show that you've paid and made corrections on those. So these are just examples, but it's basically you have to show evidence that outweighs the negatives or counters the fact that the because in here's my prediction. Citizenship is going to get a lot more complicated, unfortunately, and processing times are going to get longer as a result of this because you're going to be having officers grappling over these factors to determine whether you should get citizenship. They're going to be asking for additional information. Now they're going to be looking at the community in the citizens in your community in the jurisdiction that you're in to decide whether whatever happened in your past is the same as an average citizen in your community. All of those are very subjective, very discretionary, and it takes time to evaluate those facts and scenarios and come up with a decision. So we may see citizenship get longer. And I do remember a time during the Bush administration where citizenship was over a year to 2 years long to get US citizenship because of the way that they evaluated citizenship. Well, I do predict that we are going to get back to situations like that where you're not going to get that decision on the spot. In the last year, we've had clients that were sworn in on the spot. We won't have those anymore. We will have situations now where people are going to have to wait months, maybe even years, for officers to make decisions. So that is the downside here. But it is going to change. So my advice to you is from the get-go, from the beginning, make sure you're gathering these documents to show who you are from the start. Many of you, when you listen to this, you feel it's not going to be an option. All right. Because I mean, it's not going to be a problem because you've done all the positives. But in cases where you've made mistakes, we've all made mistakes, where you've made mistakes and you're worried about how this is going to affect your citizenship, this is where it's definitely time to dig deep, get the help you need to move forward, right? I would say too, as I've always said, never assume your citizenship is going to be simple, because something as simple as owing money now is going to be owing money is or being sued in court for a civil action, not a criminal action, could very well affect your citizenship. So it's very important that you make sure you approach with caution, because a case can get complicated very quickly if it's not done from the get-go. And this is what I'm seeing in all of the cases across the board. That's why I'm saying don't assume that any case is simple. Make sure you're doing your due diligence. Make sure that when you're putting these applications together, you put a solid application together. And we at SD Law Office are very experienced with this, and we can help you to put a solid application together, whether you've made mistakes in your past that you now want to show the officers you are still deserving of citizenship, or whether you've not had any issues in your background, but you want to make sure you do it right the first time. Now, the next question I'm going to address here is, if they deny your case, is it going to cause you to be deported? And not necessarily. And a citizenship denial does not mean that you're going to be deported. It does not mean your green card is going to be taken away. Of course, it depends on the circumstances. For instance, when they're going through these citizenship applications, they're still evaluating cases for fraud and misrepresentation. If they do find that, you could be rendered deportable, right? And when the kind of things they're looking out for are omissions and failure to disclose information, or saying yes to an answer when it's supposed to be no, or no to an answer when it's supposed to be yes in past applications. Right back to your visa. They will go right back to the time that you applied for your visa to come to the United States. They're going to look at those, and they're going to determine whether there's anything in the visa application that was untrue or that was omitted that could disqualify you from citizenship, but also implicate you in misrepresentation or fraud. So very important that you do your due diligence and make sure you put that solid application first. This is meant to empower you. It's not meant to scare you out of applying for citizenship. It's still very much worth it to move forward with citizenship. And I did practice during the last Trump administration that did present challenges similar to this. So I'm very much aware, and we did win cases. One case I remember very clearly, our client was told he was permanently barred from getting citizenship, as in no hope. He was denied by the officer. That was before I took the case. And he ended up becoming my client. He explained to me his situation, which there was a very thin line between permanent bar, him being permanently barred or not. And it was really, it came down to one single line in the statute, in the law, one single line that the officer did not see. So we went ahead and we submitted an appeal, and we went before the officer to review the case again. And when I pointed this out to the officer, this client went from being told he can never be a US citizen to being told that he is approved for citizenship. So that happened in the last Trump administration. So I'm not here to tell you don't go for it, but I'm here to say do it smartly, do it carefully, take into consideration what I just read to you to make sure that you're meeting all those requirements, and seek the help, because that is where it's going to make a difference. Now, that's it for, no, let me explain again though. Let me finish what I was saying. Will you be deported if you're denied? It really comes down to what the offense was. But in many situations, you could be denied and not deported. That's also why you should make sure you get your case thoroughly evaluated. But I'm going to give you an example where you could be denied but not deported, right? So say traffic tickets. Say you got 10 traffic tickets and the officer determined that you did not provide any evidence to show that you had any positives that outweighed that negative 10 traffic tickets. So they're going to deny you. Having 10 traffic tickets is not a deportable offense. It's not deportable. What that would mean, though, is that you'd have to wait another 5 years to be able to reapply for citizenship and show again that now you're rehabilitated and you did not commit any, you didn't have any more tickets, right? Show some rectifying information. So that's an example where you would not be deported. Here's an example where deportation may be a result. If you have anything in your background that, no, anything in your background that was not waived. So if you put a lie or an omission, you left out information intentionally in an application, but they did not see that, they did not find it, and they gave you your green card, then it's time for citizenship. And somehow now they're comparing your citizenship application with your old applications, and they find the omission or the thing that was not true. And as a result of that, they now charge you with misrepresentation or fraud. What the argument would be for them is, wait, we're going to deny your citizenship, but not only are we going to deny your citizenship, but we're going to revoke your green card because you should have never gotten that green card to start with. So now you're stripped of your green card, the only way they can strip you of your green card is to put you into removal proceedings, because they can't just take your green card away. They have to send you to removal proceedings where you have to make a case before a judge. So that's an example where that could very well be. And if you're concerned about anything like that, it's time to do your due diligence, check it out, get advice before moving forward with citizenship. And get started now, because right now processing times are still shorter, but as we go deeper and deeper into this change and deeper into the weeds, I can tell you that we're going to have longer processing times. So get on it early before beat the rush, beat the crowd, beat the complexities, and be on top of everything. All right. Now, I do have good news. We do have a case. I know it's just at the lower court right now, but the court did put a block on expedited removals of people who are granted parole. So they will not be going through expedited removal. So what they try to say is people who entered in the last 2 years on parole, they're going to take away the parole and they're going to put them through expedited removal, meaning no judge. They just pick them up off the street and no judge just send them out of the country without a judge's decision unless they say that they fear going back to their country. Well, in this case, a judge has put a hold on it. Of course, we can expect this to be appealed, but for now, the judge has determined that it is really contrary to the law to do that to people who are paroled into the country in in the last 2 years. So we're seeing court actions all over the country, and I know it feels like an uphill battle, guys, but the we're standing strong as attorneys. We're fighting and I would say I am at this point, the judges are the ones that are attorneys and judges are really the ones that are standing in between Trump and his mass deportation agenda. So, just I'll keep you updated, keep you posted on anything that I believe is substantial, anything that's going to make a difference. All right, so now I'm going to answer questions quickly. Go ahead, put your questions in the comments. I'm going to start on TikTok because I'm seeing questions coming in very quickly. So let me answer these. Tell us the most important documents we should prepare to submit for a marriage case. So there's no one size fits all. And actually, I think that is a big mistake. People think marriage-based case is one size fits all and they get themselves into trouble. They don't just focus on their marriage. What makes them real as a couple? It's people look at other couples and they try to emulate what the other couple did, even though maybe it's not their situation and it starts to raise red flags. What I would say is with immigration, what they look at is what is it as a married couple that you're doing to build a life together? What are you ever married couple's goal or ever married couple's goal usually is to come together, right? To build a life together. And what is it you're doing now to do that? Are you opening up a joint bank account and keeping that bank account active and actively saving money in there or paying all your bills, your joint bills out of there? Have you put an estate plan together? Do you have life insurance? Do you have a lease together? Are you working towards a lease? Have you bought property together? Did you buy vehicles together? Are you on each other's car insurance? Are you on each other's health insurance? Are you an emergency contact for each other's jobs? Are you emergency contact at the doctor? Are you actively trying to start a family together? Do you have children together? Are you both active in your children's lives, even if maybe the children are step children? These are the types of evidence that they like to see, but does it apply to you? You have to look at what applies to your marriage and gather that evidence. One thing I can say is in a marriage based application, make sure you document everything. Now, one thing I noticed, and this can actually be a red flag, guys, is pictures, only pictures. You only put pictures in the application. So many people will be like, um, we are now married and I have pictures. I have plenty of pictures. Look at pictures as the cherry on top. it is not the thing that's going to make your case. Just by having pictures, it can actually raise red flags, especially when you just put the wedding photos. When it's only the wedding photos and nothing else, huge red flag. Because I can tell you, in those fake marriages that they set up for the green card, that's exactly what they do. They have a courthouse marriage, and then they go from the courthouse and go to different parks, and or they go to a park, take some pictures there. They have like maybe 10 wedding photos, and that's it, right? You know, if you're gonna put pictures in there, you have to show pictures together, different times, seasons, holidays, different people. Very important that you use a variation of photos along with other evidence. So that's important. All right. Someone I got an interview for asylum, and one lawyer told him to ask for a reschedule as he hits tenure. Uh, I'm not sure about that. I don't know about that. Can you still travel if you're in the process of removing your conditional green card? Yes, you're still a green card holder, but keep in mind that if there is anything in your background you're concerned about, you need to take pause, evaluate your risk traveling. When you're traveling as a conditional green card holder, you need to make sure you have your extension letter. If you're in the middle of going from a 2 year to a 10 year, make sure you have your extension letter that says that you continue to be a green card holder. If you don't have that extension letter, then you need to get an I-551 stamp in your passport to show you continue to be a permanent resident. Make sure you don't have any possible pending denials coming up. If there's a notice of intent to deny, do not travel. Make sure you straighten that out before traveling. If you're referred to immigration court while you're still going from 2 year to 10 year, do not travel. So there are certain situations where if you're in removal, if you removal proceedings already, if you have any criminal issues that came up that they don't know about, or sometimes even if they know about, you need to make sure that you take pause, just evaluate first. What documents do we need to submit to prove good moral character? So I am going to repeat it right here. I have it in the policy memorandum here, and some good examples of documents are going to be related to community service or volunteer work. So the volunteer work you would get, do you have volunteer certificates, or do you have can you get letters from the volunteer coordinator attesting to the fact that you did volunteer work? Do you have any proof showing you're a member of a church and you've been active in your church? Letters from church members talking about your contributions. If you have family ties, show the family relationships that you have. If you have a caregiving role, make sure you're showing that, caregiving role for your children, caregiving role for your parents. Show that through different documents, maybe medical records, maybe power of attorney records. Education, if you've attained any certificates, any degrees, then it's time to show that off as well. Employment history, usually they ask for your employment history in the application. If you can get a job letter from your employer or employers talking about your employment with them and your achievements, that would be great as well. Your length of lawful residence, they will know that already based on their own records. And then your tax returns. Now, this was there before, but make sure you do have evidence of the last 5 years of your tax returns. Immigration court is next year for asylum. Now marry a U.S. citizen. Can he petition for me? So when you're in removal proceedings, which is telling me you are, even though you do have an asylum pending, they are you can, but they're going to evaluate it at a much higher standard. So you're going to have to show by clear and convincing evidence that the marriage is real. Which visa is easier to get L1 or E2. I own a small company in Paris, around 200K. So the L1 has to do with, are you in, there are requirements in regards to how long have you been an employee of the company that's related to the company in the United States. E2, you don't need to show those ties. But really and truly, whether you qualify for the L1 or the E2 is going to come down to your qualifications, your circumstances. And then we'd have to check if France is on the E2, because there are only certain countries that qualify for the E2 treaty investor visa. So I'd have to check if France is one of those. And you can check if France is one of those. What if I don't have all this, expect same job for 10 years and tax record? So one thing I do want to let you know is when it comes to citizenship, you don't have to have all of it. I don't want to scare you or disempower you and make you feel like you uh, you need to have everything. You don't need to have everything. It's really going to come down to your circumstances, the totality of your circumstances. But you just gather as much as you can as it relates to you, right? Having working for your job for 10 years and paying your taxes, that's really good as well. And in addition to not having any offenses in your background, that could still lead to a positive finding of good moral character. So and think about it. Maybe if you've been working for 10 years just trying to make ends meet, keeping your head down, really contributing to your company that you're working for, taking care of your family, taking care of yourself, bettering yourself in your job, that's the picture that you have to tell. It's your story. So this is, if you notice when I did that, that's what you have to do. You have to talk about you. You have to explain how you have contributed to the United States. What positive factors did you bring in your time here in the United States, right? It's not necessarily that you have to do everything everything on the list, but I can see here working 10 years straight for one employer is a huge achievement. Having paid your taxes every year, complying with your taxes is also great, so those are positives towards your contribution. Can my boyfriend apply for a visa U if he was shot at inside our house? Yes. Well, keep in mind that we have to look at the list of qualifying crimes and look at the effect it had on your boyfriend to determine. So give us a call. I was convinced to overstay by family, but I was laughed at and told to go figure it out. My story is too long. Give us a call. This is exactly what we talk about in our consultation. So give us a call. Let's talk. Let's see what your circumstances are and determine whether you qualify for relief. Now, in certain cases like this, if they forced you to do work that you were not willing to do, you had to do work in the house, they treated you like a maid. I often refer to this as the Cinderella scenario, where they tell you to overstay, they give you all these promises, then you overstay, and before you know it, you're like a maid in the house. Then that could possibly qualify you for T visa, just depending on the specific facts. What is the new processing time for T visa? Saw something that said 22 months. Yes, so it is getting longer. And I've said over 18 months, not 18 months. Now, keep in mind, guys, that I'm not working in the USCIS. So I am basing my timelines on my experiences and I am not a predictor. I'm not an AI tool that predicts down to a certainty processing time. So keep in mind, processing times are estimated. Processing times are now over 18 months and more towards a 22-month timeline. I have interview tomorrow, marriage, so everything is fine. Good luck. Make sure you prepare, put all your documents together, and be ready for those questions. Oh, great. I'm so glad to hear that, Titan. I'm very glad to hear that. Um, all right. I'm loving these questions. Let's see. Will an American citizen who has left the States and never returned be punished or face difficulties? No. So, US citizens can live outside of the United States. I am waiting for my green card. Will I receive it? I can't tell you with a certainty because I'm not your attorney. But if you were approved for your green card, it should be coming. If it takes too long, give them a call or give your attorney a call. I got approved for DS-260 for family members. They can get visa. Yes, if you're approved, that means that they will get the visa to come and become green card holders. Does green card stop for those who apply for? No, but they have now talked about new requirements when they are evaluating whether somebody, an asylee, gets their green card. So they have some changes. And I am gonna do some long form videos on YouTube. So hello there on YouTube. So if you about these changes, so subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's called Getting the Green Card, and watch those long form videos. They are different from videos that are on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook because they're long form. I have a pending I-360 and pending I-45, but I have advanced parole. Can I travel outside of the country? It depends. That's what that document is there for, but it's the risk is a lot higher. So you want to make sure that you don't face any risk before making that trip out of the country. Because coming back, they still have discretion based on anything in your background to tell you that they're not admitting you. What caused so many people's hearing to be moved from court? So I'm not sure which court you're talking about. Maybe if you elaborate. Thanks for sharing the live. Thank you for the likes, the gifts, guys. This helps other people to see information that empowers them in their immigration journey. So thank you for doing just that. Thank you for the love. I appreciate it. That means other people are seeing this and being able to get information that empowers them. So thank you. Thank you for those gifts. Um, can you still travel? If you are removing your green card, you're going from the 2 year to the 10 year, yes. How different removal granted under CAT? So CAT is Convention Against Torture when you're going through removal proceedings, and it usually means that you don't have a status, but you get to be protected while being in the U.S. because you have shown in court that you will be likely harmed if you go to your country. No, asylum is different. You do get a path to the green card. So that's how it's different. What happens is if the judge decides they're not going to grant you the asylum, then the alternative would be withholding of removal or CAT if you prove those elements. How can we marry if I'm on government assistance as a US citizen and we don't have an additional sponsor? So it just depends on your income. Even though you're on government assistance, do you at least make the minimum required to sponsor your spouse? So being on government assistance does not necessarily disqualify you. It is an indication, though, that you do have income that's lower within the poverty range. So it really is a matter of just knowing your numbers, understanding what the numbers is, your household size. If you go to the I-864P form, uh, you'll see that the amount you have to make, see if that you can make that amount, even if you're getting public assistance. Um, oh wow, so many questions. I have my asylum approval. Can I apply after 6 months from my green card? For the green card, it has to be a year of continuous presence. How much income required to sponsor green card? Look at your I-864P form on the USCIS website. It will tell you there. Um, do you do EB2 petitions? If yes, how much is it? So I first talk to you about your case, make sure you're qualified. We do EB2, but we have to understand what your qualifications are before we can move forward with it. Can a divorce be done after getting your 2 year? Yes, yes, but I'll get legal advice, make sure strategically that's the right move for you. You can even get a divorce. Um, Now, after you get the 2 year, you can divorce and file for a divorce waiver, but we have to understand your situation to properly advise. How it take for a U.S. citizen husband to file for kids, um, so I'd say a year, if they're outside of the US, a year and a half to 2 years, in the US, a year and a half. But my asylum is closed last year. Is there anything I should be concerned about? If it was closed based on a denial, then you need to talk to an attorney. All right, so I'm gonna head on over to YouTube and then Instagram, so hang tight, and I'm gonna answer questions here. My VAWA approved May 2024. Congrats, they received the RFE for medical September 2024. No update. Seen, expect 6 months to 12 months. You may get a interview notice before they give the approval. Hi there, Karen. My VAWA approved May 2024, RFE for medical September 2024, but no update. 6 to 12 months. I would say give it 6 to 12 months. They may schedule an adjustment of status interview. All right. So I'm on Instagram. Hello, Instagram. I'm gonna go through the questions here. Thanks so much for your patience. I appreciate it. All right. Any info on H-1B visas? Yes, there have been some changes in the way they're going to do H-1Bs. I'd have to save that for another because I haven't looked at those changes. So I'd have to save that for another time. But yes, there have been changes or will be changes. Can you adjust an A2 visa? It's possible, but we have to understand your circumstances to determine whether you are able to adjust. And how do you qualify? Do you qualify for adjustment of status based on the relationships that you have in addition to the circumstances? Do you think it's safe to travel outside the country with a travel document? The risk is higher. You need to be very careful. I would say conservatively, I'm telling my clients, don't travel. It's not safe. However, I do understand sometimes people have, emergencies, family issues that they feel compelled to travel. And in that case, I would still just want you to understand the risk. And if you're willing to bear that risk, then, go for it. I applied for my green card renewal in February, still waiting. Do you have any information on this? It can take a year or more to get that green card. Just married, no joint lease yet, but my wife and I have other supporting documents. Should I go ahead and file for her? That really is a strategic question that you need to talk to your attorney about. In some cases, I may say yes, and others I may say go for that joint lease. Are you not going to have a joint lease? Is a joint lease not possible? If it's not possible, but you have other evidence, we want to look at that other evidence to make sure it's sufficient. Because as I said, no case is simple. So you want to make sure that you're evaluating very carefully, making sure everything is sufficient before filing. How long are wait times extending for the T visas? So over 18 months now. We're looking at on the USCIS side, 22 months on average. I'm seeing it to be around that timeline now. If a work permit is issued to you by a T visa, does that allow you to travel or do not travel? Yeah, the T visa is just there for you to work. It's not there unless you have a combo card that says travel is permitted. You should not be traveling. What is the process to apply for a green card stamped in your passport? So usually you have to contact there is a link on the USCIS website where you can schedule your own appointment. And I believe if you have a USCIS account, you can do it there and then schedule for an aided stamp. And then they would schedule that appointment with you. What's the best answer to get immigration as to why my husband and I don't have a joint account together, but we have Zelle transfers? It varies. I would not be able to tell you the best answers because I don't know you as a couple. But be real. What I say though, from a strategic point of view, talk to your attorney. And this is why I say have an attorney because the attorney can advise you. But in this case, I cannot tell you to answer a question that not even I know because I don't know you as a couple. So why is it that the both of you don't have a joint account together? The both of you have to think about that and answer in a way that the officer can understand why Zelle transfers make more sense than a joint bank account. Will speeding ticket affect citizenship application? It possibly could. Yeah. So we just talked about that. So, for instance, if in your community, people on average, citizens in your community get no, get one ticket and you get three tickets, that could possibly go against you. And then it would be up to you to show how you have rectified the situation. You pay the ticket, you've not gotten another ticket in the last maybe, 1 or 2 years, get other evidence to show, to outweigh positive evidence, to outweigh the negatives, from community members talking about your character. So that's where, it could possibly, they're definitely going to want that information. Um, and it may, just depending on what their evaluation is of the community you live in. What's the best answer to give immigration as to why we don't have? Okay, so I answered that. I say 2 days short, 6 months, and they canceled your visa. What are the options for a person to reapply? So if you can always reapply, but you have to show you have strong ties. And if they cancel it because they suspected you work, that's gonna be a problem. Um, What's your contact information? Go to the link in my profile on Instagram, TikTok. Go to the link in the description of the video on YouTube, Facebook, and you will see the link. Click on the link. It'll get you to the link tree. You can schedule your own appointment after going through a brief evaluation form. You can go to the website and submit your information there for our office to call, or you can call us directly. So the number is in the comment section. I'm going to put it right now, and it's under Immigration Lawyer Sharif on Instagram. Go ahead and call that number and we'll be able to help you out. We are 24 hours a day. So could speed tickets affect renewal of I-90? Not usually. But if you're concerned, get legal advice and representation. Don't make the mistake of not having that representation. Been married 5 years now, just got to the US, got my 10-year green card. The marriage is toxic, disrespect starts, mental abuse. Um, you at this point you do not have to put up with the mental abuse. Document everything. There's nothing else you have to do. You have your 10-year green card. You don't have to apply for another green card for another 10 years. Just document everything. Document the mistreatment you experienced and have that just in your records when you're applying for citizenship. If there's something needed or if the officer has questions, you have documentation showing exactly why you divorced. Maybe even think about including that information in your divorce proceedings. But at this point, you have your 10-year green card. There's nothing that should be holding you back from leaving an abusive situation, even if you didn't get your green card. There are options available to apply without a spouse if you are going through mistreatment. So please know there's always a way out. You don't have to put up with abuse. That's why these laws are here. All right. Let me see, is there anything else? All right, that's gonna be it for me. Again, guys, thank you so much for your time. I've been doing really good, so I'm hoping to do all this week, Monday through Friday. Like, subscribe, follow, share. This is how first you're gonna see when I come on so that you can join me and we can do this again, or it can also empower other immigrants who need this information to empower themselves through their immigration journey. And keep in mind that we're here to help. No case is simple now. As you can see, now the citizenship process has gotten more complicated just by this good moral character evaluation. Nothing is simple. So make sure you're getting the help you need. It's the best move that you can make in this time. We're here to help. We are 24 hours. No matter where you are in this country, we represent clients in all 50 states and the globe. So no matter where you are, we can help you. All right. Um, I am so tempted to answer more questions, but I have to go and get ready for my bed so I can be ready for tomorrow. So save your questions. Let's talk tomorrow. Just follow me. So as soon as as you see me come on, you can come on and ask your questions. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Bye bye.